There, it has been a minute, but Recovery Monday is back. We are doing lessons out of this book, 7% Slower. Today, we are doing a lesson out of chapter 4 right here, Why Rushing Around is a Bad Idea. So let's get going. Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to put the chat up on the window, on the screen as I usually do. Let's put the chat overlay up. As you pop in, just let me know that you can hear me. Let me know how you're doing, where you're coming from. We'll wait for everybody to sort of wander in. It has been a minute since we did one of these. I think we had like 2 or 3 weeks off, I think. I'm not really sure. So let's see as everybody files in. Today, we're going to talk about why rushing around is a bad idea. In the previous 3 Recovery Mondays, we did chapters 1 through 3 of 7% Slower. And we were talking about what the speed response is, why it exists, what it does for us, what it doesn't do for us. And today, we're going to talk about why rushing around is a bad idea. This is a short chapter, so I'm not going to talk for that long, to be honest with you. But we'll go through it. We'll go through the lesson and we'll do a little Q&A and we'll just kind of hang out together like we usually do. So, hey, Donna, what up? It's already hot in Oregon. There's a lot of heat, man. We're not getting it here in New York. So we've been kind of lucky. It's a little cooler than it should be right now. So for those of you that are literally baking right now, I'm really sorry. Hang in there. It'll cool off sooner or later, I think. What up? The Netherlands is here. Carol is here. Yeah, I'm sort of taking a week off, so you're really not going to see a lot of social media content from me. I'm not doing the Anxious Morning this week. There's no Anxious Truth podcast this week, but I missed our live streams. I kind of miss hanging out with you guys. So I thought, I can do this for a half hour. So let's see. Baking in Florida, says Aurora. When are you not baking in Florida? Seriously. Hey, what up, Steph? How's it going? Anna is here. So what do we got? About 50 people, 49 people showed up already. So this is cool. Hey, Bessie, how's it going? Montreal, that's a city that I really, really, really want to get to very soon. So, hey, Genevieve, how's it going? GBG, what up, brother? Thanks for stopping by. Julius here. What's going on? Let's see. 87 in Washington State. What up? 84 in Pennsylvania. Anyway, so thanks for coming in, guys. I'm glad that you're here. Like I said, I've kind of missed doing this. So we're back. Let's talk about chapter 4 in 7% Slower, because now we're doing lessons out of this book. I'm not good at my pointing. My pointing skills are weak. So let's get to it. Let's talk about why rushing around is a bad idea. Now, this is a short chapter. There's just a couple little things here. And the chapter starts by pointing out that, 20,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, rushing around in the face of a threat was a really good idea. Like, we lived in environments where we did kind of need to speed up. And every once in a while, I'll read a little line out of this chapter. So what I basically said was, when confronted with an actual threat, acceleration serves a purpose. If it really is time to fight or flee, the ability to throw hands or get the hell out of dodge faster than your opponent is a good thing. And it was, except that when we are dealing with things like disordered anxiety or just the everyday stress of sort of modern life, and I can't believe I use the word modern life, so cliche, that acceleration response doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. It actually causes a problem. So in this situation, what we care about is not so much the initial speeding up response, because we can't really stop that. That initial demand to speed up is always going to kind of be there because it's sort of baked into us. But we care about the fact that we can choose to not continue to follow it, right? Because what we really are trying to do here, and not just in 7% Slower, but in the Anxious Truth and in recovery in general, and the way we're learning to deal with anxiety and form a new relationship with it, is that we are trying to learn to send signals back down the chain to the lower parts of our brain that say, I know you think there's danger here, but we're cool, right? We're cool. We're always trying to do that. We're trying to send those signals back down. And if we take that initial acceleration response, which most of us have, you can't really get that out of you, and you continue to follow it and run around like a speed demon, the signal you're sending back down the chain to your lizard brain is, yes, there is a problem. We better get the hell out of here. Right. So that's one of the reasons why we do not want to speed up. Sometimes it would serve a purpose. If there's a lion chasing you, by all means, run like hell. But otherwise, you're just sending a signal back down to your fear center that says, yes, keep firing alarms, keep saying danger, danger, danger. We got to get out of here. So that's why we don't want to do that. And I'll put a couple of quotes up here. This is one of the quotes from the book. On page 36 of the printed version. Anyway, when your lizard brain wants you to speed up to avoid danger, accelerating, behaving, following it, obeying it, rewards it for being wrong. So when you habitually rush around and rush around and rush around, and you continually follow that instruction and continue to do that, you're literally rewarding your fear center for firing false alarms and being overactive and overprotective and hypersensitive, right? So it's really important. So the other thing that we're talking about is when you zoom around, and this next quote I love, and I can't even take credit for it because really my editor Hillary kind of came up with it, is you are perpetuating the cycle. So not only are you sending a signal back down to your fear center that says, yes, there really is danger, but you perpetuate the cycle. You're essentially saying, hey, stay on alert, please. If every time you tell me to jump, lizard brain, I say how high and I follow along and I let you drag me down the rabbit hole, I'm rewarding you and telling you to stay on guard. And in the end, those signals are the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish in the recovery process and learning to get better at dealing with anxiety, with forming a new relationship with anxiety, with changing our reaction to it. So this is one of the quotes that I love. Engaging in human zoomies. I'll actually tell you the whole quote because it kills me. And I did not come up with human zoomies. That goes to Hillary Jasper, my editor. She came up with that one. Engaging in human zoomies is the opposite of calming the hyperactive threat response. It's actually like feeding it a steady diet of caffeine, sugar, and crystal meth. So it's important to recognize this is why that rushing around is not a good idea 95% of the time. If there is no actual threat, if you're going to rush around and rush around and rush around, you're going to send a signal back down to your brain that says, yes, we are in danger and we should keep remaining on high alert needlessly. So that's kind of the crux of this chapter. Like I said, it's not that long, but there's a couple points we can go through. One of which is that the fear center in your brain is sort of nestled in that lower brain. And I know that I use the term lizard brain, which I do understand is a little bit of an outdated term. Let me just acknowledge that. There's a lot of work now that says, oh, we should stop talking about lizard brain. And I get that. So if we want to talk about fear center, amygdala, whatever, lower brain, just, superimpose the words if you want. But that's there. It's nestled down there in your lower brain. And its job is to detect threats and order you into fight or flight mode. And it's really quick, but it's not very smart. So it's fast and it's powerful, but it's not very nuanced and it lacks finesse. So the other thing is that that fear center has been designed for conditions that don't really exist anymore. Unfortunately, evolution is slow. So it hasn't caught up to the fact that the world has changed so much, unfortunately. This means that our lizard brains, for some of us, are primed to fire at times that they shouldn't. So we've talked about this and all the other previous Recovery Mondays and the Anxious Truth is what I talk about all the time. When your lizard brain detects danger, it's going to order you to speed up. That was important back in the day. It was probably useful, but now it's not. Your lizard brain only understands experiences, not words. We've talked about this many, many times. I've written about it. It's been in podcast episodes, previous live streams. Only experiences. You can't tell it that you're okay. You can only show it. That's important. And so when we send the signal back down the chain that says, well, yes, I'll rush around. I'm going to run. I'm going to run. I'm going to got to get away from these feelings and get away from this threat. The signal you're sending is, yeah, you're right. There's danger. This is a problem. And keep looking for it, man, because clearly you're right. So we're looking for changing that so that we send the opposite signal down the chain that says, it's cool. Hey, lizard brain, I know you think that there's a disaster going on right now, but I promise there's not. We're cool. The all clear. Send the all clear sign. And that's why we want to learn to begin to slow down as one of our new responses to anxiety, panic, and stress. Right. So that is basically the crux of chapter 4 of 7% Slower. It's the shortest chapter in the book. And it leads the next chapter in the book is essentially a look at probably the number one reason why people don't want to slow down. And that is, we'll talk about that next week. And that is because when you slow down, you are left confronted with all those feelings and sensations. And part of the rushing response, in many ways, is a conditioned response to try and get you away from that. So when you're having scary thoughts and when you're having scary sensations in your body, rushing around is an attempt to run away from those. So when we do the opposite and we begin to slow things down intentionally, we wind up confronted with those thoughts and those sensations. They feel louder and they feel stronger and they're right in our face. So we'll do that next week. For now, let's go through some questions if anybody has them. This could be a particularly short. Eric, that's a good one. This might be a short one, but I'll put some comments up on the screen, some questions. Let me go into the chat here and see what we got. It's really hot in the UK. Yes, I see all that. Let's scroll down, scroll down. Hey, Kayana. I've been listening to your podcast. It's been a huge help. Good. I'm glad I'm able to help. Excellent. Here I am. Here's I got to put her up on the screen. It's our Twitch listener. Thank you. It's a running gag. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop with that. So that's fine. Hey everybody, let's see here. Oh, this is good. Let's put Donna's thing up on the screen here. Between walking, living slower, not freeing, my BP is better than perfect. Go slower. I love this. Now, we're not really talking about physical health. It's not my thing. I'm not teaching you how to get like physically healthier, but this is so good. Like, look at the positive benefits that our friend Donna has reaped from all of this work. I'm not going to claim any sort of credit for Donna's blood pressure in any way, shape, or form. Oh, my mouse just died. Excellent. I have no way to point at the screen now. Hang on a second. Live TV here. And of course, somebody took my batteries. Hang on. All right, guys, let's change the mouse here. Change the mouse batteries or else I ain't going to be able to do anything. Because I have no other way to point at the screen. So we're going to put some new batteries in my mouse here. Live TV. Talk amongst yourselves. Which is what you're already doing, and it's great. I appreciate you guys. All right, let's see. All right, we should have mouse back in a second. So this is good. That's why I really appreciate Donna's comment. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. Okay, we are back. The mouse is back. I will hide that and we can get back on with our lives. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Carol says it's too hot to rush around. My wife says I have an actual lizard brain. I don't know, dude. Maybe you do. Who am I to argue with your wife? It's possible. Let's see here. Okay, this is, let's put Ava's comment up in the screen. I just rushed out of the market. So I get the emoji there, Ava. It looks like you're a little bit disappointed that you rushed out of the market. That is a very common example of the rushing response that comes along with anxiety and panic, which, I'm in a bad spot. I got to get out of here. And you rush through the market to get out and get back to your car, get back home, or whatever you think is safe. You're not alone. Everybody goes through that. It's okay. It's okay. You can work on that. So let's see here. Okay, let's put Eric's comment on the screen. This is real. When you slow down, you have time to think. That's the bad part. But here's the good news about that. And I turned off the fan in here, which means it's getting warm. So if I start to sweat, that's what that is. Plus, I'm still under the weather. But this is true. When you slow down, unfortunately, you do have time to think. Really, I would say more so when you slow down, you have time to feel initially. So here's the magic, though. At first, you will fear. You'll feel more when you slow down. Like the thoughts will seem louder. They'll be right up in your face. The symptoms will seem more exaggerated. So you'll feel more. But the cool thing about this is as you work on that and then you work on slowing things down and changing that response to anxiety, then you literally get the opportunity to begin to think more, which is a good thing. So first you feel more and you feel all the scary shit. But then you do start to make space to think more, where the top part of your brain, that reasoning part of your brain, begins to weigh in a little bit and can have a say. So I love this comment, but I would say that first you feel more, then you make a little bit of space for you to think more, but you're starting to think more rationally, if you will. So think of it that way. It might make a difference. So let's see here. Okay, let's see what Genevieve says here. I really work hard to avoid rushing. It works great, but I always have a second rush. Well, that's pretty common too. Don't feel bad about that. All the things that I write about, all the things that I talk about are things that we really work on practicing, like, and getting better at. But yes, I get that. It's the issue is that this stuff sort of comes in waves. It would be great if you could just initially slow down and then everything just calms down and you're good to go. But it doesn't really work that way. I mean, as you get further down the road, it will look a little bit more like that. But that initial slowdown is excellent, Genevieve. But what'll happen is your brain will keep whispering, yeah, but, like, and you'll feel a sensation flare up, all of those things. And what will happen is, yeah, you'll have to go through the process again of like, oh, I sped up. Oh, I have to slow down. So it's okay. You'll have to constantly checking. Oh, am I rushing again? Slow down, slow down. So it's okay. It's practice. It's okay. These are hard things to learn and to get good at because they're also very counterintuitive. So I always want to make sure that we acknowledge that these are counterintuitive things. They're difficult to learn and they're difficult to get good at. So it's okay to have that second rushing. When you catch it, just slow it down again. And if you have to do that 10 times, 15 times, 30 times, that's okay. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong. Let's see here. Overlaying sermons other incredibly helpful. Yeah, and I appreciate that. So when I wrote this book, it was kind of meant as an adjunct to the Anxious Truth and to the podcast. Like this book really kind of goes hand in hand with that. And I've said this before, and I appreciate this comment, by the way. Um, this is actually, don't tell anybody. I've said this before. This is actually a mindfulness book. Shh, don't spread it around. But this is a sneaky mindfulness manual. And in the Anxious Truth, and when I wrote that book, when I do my podcast and all the social media content, I talk about mindfulness and meditation and focus. This is actually really a vehicle to help you cultivate those skills. So I know that the slowing down process by itself is sort of part of the recovery toolkit, but really and truly, it's gives you sort of a backdoor to those other things. So it's a very sneaky mindfulness manual and focus manual, but shh, don't spread it around. Don't tell anybody. I'm just kidding. But thanks, GBJ. I appreciate that. Um, let's see here. Oh, we'll pop it up. Might as well. Driving anxiety, what to do when feeling extreme anxiety while driving. So Shannon, I don't know how familiar you are with the material, but driving anxiety is not special anxiety. So everything we talk about here in this community is all about learning to allow that anxiety without resistance, forming a new relationship with it, slowing down, not reacting the way you used to, and really not wondering, what do I do with it? How do I stop it? How do I figure it out? How do I get it to stop or prevent it from happening? You actually want to allow it and learn to move through it. I can't give you all of the things in a quick 15-second answer in a live stream, but if you're not familiar with the basics of what we're talking about, go back and listen to the first 15 or 20 episodes of my podcast. You'll get the idea of what that's all about. And driving anxiety is not a special kind of anxiety. The same rules apply there too. This is about allow it without resistance and learn to move through it. Very important. What do we have here? Becky, ear infection. Mindful meditate. Ooh, this is cool. Okay, so interesting. Developed a little, some people say this different, tinnitus or tinnitus. I have a bit of that in my left ear. Well, actually, I don't know what ear it is really, because it's not an ear thing. You're very welcome, Shannon. No problem. Doc says I need to be mindful, meditate, train my brain to disregard as unimportant. Been there, done that. I appreciate this so much. This is a thing we talk about often, like the skills that we learn and practice in recovery we're applying to disordered anxiety, right? Anxiety problems, but they do translate to the rest of your life. And so this is a really good example in the situation where tinnitus or tinnitus, which can be can become a mental health thing. It's really a disturbing sensation. Um, there's a lot of work in this mindfulness, focus, meditation, relaxation that gets applied in those situations. People who deal with chronic illnesses, chronic pain, things CBT using thing and incorporating things like mindfulness, meditation, relaxation, and focused breathing are often used to help people navigate through all kinds of challenging things in life, including physical challenges. So that's a great comment. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I'm not sure I understand this question. I'll put it up. What about using running if it elicits a fear response? Elizabeth, if you want to clarify that, I'll try to answer it before we end. So if you want to re-ask that, I'm not sure what you mean using running. You mean the act of running, like exercise? I'm not sure. Just clarify that if you can. I'll see if I can answer it for you. I just need to know what you're talking about. So let's see. Lydia, what up? Put Lydia up on the screen. I completely feel like a chicken with my head cut off when I get these sensations, but I'm learning I'm okay. And I guess what you're going to say, you're showing your brain that it's okay. This is a good illustration of how, yes, this is really hard. I'm never going to stop acknowledging how hard this is and how counterintuitive this is. And as the person who writes these books and does these podcasts and creates this content, I can tell you that every single day I am told by multiple people that I am absolutely insane. I have no idea what I'm talking about, and that I should be thrown in jail for possibly even considering or suggesting that you should face the things that you are afraid of. So this is so counterintuitive for so many people. And that's a great comment because, again, we have to be nice to ourselves because we are going against the grain here in a big way. And we are learning to do things that we don't want to do, that don't come naturally to us. Curiously, over time, when it starts to get better and you go down the road, you will literally say like, it is a little bit more natural. So initially, the stuff we're talking about here, like slowing down in these lessons through 7% slower, is unnatural. But as you get better at it, like anything else, you build these habits, you build these new responses, it does become your new natural. This is the way I handle an anxious situation. This is the way I respond to it. So it does become more natural. But in the beginning, we always have to acknowledge this is difficult, counterintuitive, and be nice to yourself because it can take some time to get. So thanks for that comment. Appreciate it. I've been dealing with my depression. Thank you so much for your podcast. You're very welcome, Rosa. I'm glad it's helping in some way. Oh, this is good. Let's throw it up here. No, no, no. When I rush out, I don't leave. I grew. Okay. This is great. Love this comment. Love it, love it, love it. Let's talk about that. So, in the context of rushing around, if you do find that you run out, like you run out of the market, you run out of the supermarket, you run, whatever, back to your car. In this situation, yes, I get that. You're regrouping in your car, really common, super common. That's totally okay. It's totally okay. Now, I did a podcast episode a couple of years ago called "What Do We Do When We Fail?" That's a pretty popular one. You can look that up on my website. And I always say, go back and do it again. And the regrouping strategy, if you do find that you get carried away and you run out and you're starting to head toward home or back to your safe place, then you can catch that. So all is not lost. If you catch it and see, oh man, well, look what I did, you can stop wherever you happen to be and try to regroup. So this is so good. I appreciate this comment. It's a perfectly valid strategy. I didn't run home, for example. I sat in my car for 5 or 10 minutes. I let everything pass. I let it run its course. I settled into it and I went back in and completed my task. 100% win, 100%. In fact, that might even be more valuable experience than if you didn't go out to the car to begin with. All right. So that's a great comment. It is 100% permissible and actually perfectly acceptable. It's totally a win if that's the way you do it. You'll find that over time, you don't have to regroup in the car. But in the beginning, if you have to back away for a second, or you find that you sort of involuntarily back away or run out, if you catch it, stop, regroup, and continue. That's a big thumbs up. So great comment. Great, great. Let's see here. Steph, what do you got to say? I find that rushing out also makes the upcoming. Yes. Yes. Okay. Have to do everything slow. Meditating helps. You kind of do have to do everything slow. Now, this also, I try and be careful with my words, right? Because I never want this to seem prescriptive, like this is how you fix this kind of anxiety or whatever. So I'm going to say a thing, but just keep that in mind. Nothing is about fixing or curing. But the skill of slowing down in the face of anxiety is really applicable in a big way in anticipatory anxiety, which is not special anxiety, but when you are dreading things that are coming up, the ability to slow down. And again, remember what I said, this is a sneaky mindfulness manual, will bring you into the current moment, which is super helpful when you are dreading the trip to the dentist in 2 days, or a wedding you have to go to in 2 weeks, or a family vacation that you don't think you can possibly do. And you're living that event before you have to. The ability to slow things down and practice being slow and mindful can be hugely helpful in the face of anticipatory anxiety. Not a cure, won't block it, not supposed to stop it or banish it, but it can help you learn to navigate. Okay. So excellent. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. Actually does faint from panic. Russia said, okay, well, so let's put this up on the screen real quick. So Rhonda, I'm sorry that you're in that situation. And Rhonda has a physiological issue here. Really low blood pressure and an exaggerated vasovagal response. There are people who are fainters. That's true. Okay. So that is true. If you now, as Rhonda will tell us, I'm sure if she had the opportunity, you would know if you're one of those people. And some people do have, that's a small number of people, but they're there, like our friend Rhonda. In that situation, not sure how to get around that. It does add an extra wrinkle for sure. But being in a situation where this means that you must never allow yourself to panic will become super restrictive in your life, which I'm guessing it already has, and also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So in certain instances, people who have that exaggerated vasovagal response, they are the panic attack fainters. And I get you guys, if you're out there, I understand. Sometimes you can make that worse by saying, well, I'm special, so therefore I have a reason to avoid this and try and engineer my life around never experiencing it. When you try to never experience it, you're almost guaranteeing that you will. So I'm guessing that you've, Rhonda, done all of your stuff with your medical team. in terms of trying to keep your blood pressure elevated, making sure you're hydrated, maybe an extra sodium intake to keep your fluid levels up, all of those things, maybe wearing compression socks and that sort of stuff. So you do the best you can, but just keep in mind that when you say, well, my avoidance is justified and I must never allow myself to panic, you're almost guaranteeing that the panic will stalk you forever. So you have a little bit of an extra balancing act. I don't have any specific recommendations for you, unfortunately, because that is a real situation for you. And of course, you want to try and stay safe, but keep that in mind that the self-fulfilling prophecy can make things worse. It's a thing I've heard often in the vasovagal response community, if you will. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, I didn't have more for you. Let's see here. Thank you so much for your podcast. You're very welcome. What does Kelly have to say here? I'm just going to read some comments real quick. Where are we? 25 minutes. I found that when I do rush around, it makes me literally throw myself into a panic attack. This is a giant comment, so it's hard for me to fill the whole screen. Took my time, pushed the card, didn't think of anxiety. Okay. So what Kelly is saying, our friend Kelly is talking about, when you rush around, you can literally create that same panic state that you're trying to get out of. And I think this is a good illustration, because when you feel it rising, those of you guys that are watching today that are panic attack people, when you feel the panic rising and you begin to try to run away from it, you are almost guaranteeing that you are, what's the word I'm looking for? You're almost guaranteeing to pour fuel in that fire. So that's a great time, not just when you're panicking, but when you feel it rising, it's a perfect time to slow things down. Because if you speed up in response and try to run away from it, it's going to catch you 9 times out of 10. So good comment, Kel. Appreciate it. Let's see. Stuff to slow down. It's tough to slow down, and then I find myself rushing to get off. Okay. I know that for many, I'll put up on the screen real quick. Hey, CV, I don't know your actual name, but thanks for the comment. It's tough to slow down when on the highway. This is such a common thing. And trust me, I was a driving anxiety person, 100%. It was my biggest problem, right? So I get this, but that desire to constantly point out that somehow driving is special, I would contend that it isn't. So the fact that you are literally saying that you will, if you're on the highway or the motorway, for those of you in the UK, and you start to get anxious, you speed up and rush to get off the motorway. So you are literally telling me that you can operate that motor vehicle at a much higher rate and in a frantic state. And you seem to get off the highway every time. So what does that tell you about your ability to navigate the vehicle when anxious? You still have it. So think of that crazy sort of contradiction that so many people, and I fell into this trap. Like, I have to get off, I have to get off the Long Island Expressway. I have to. And I would put the car into high gear, like Mario Andretti, like an IndyCar driver, to get off the highway, get onto side streets and head toward home. And one day I had the realization, like, I'm insisting that I have to get off the highway because I can't handle the car, but I'm actually handling the car very well as long as it's in the service of getting to safety. So if it's in the service of actually getting to the destination you try to get to, I can't do that. But if it's in the service of getting back to your safe place or escaping discomfort, well, then I'm perfectly able to navigate this vehicle at high rate of speed. So just consider that. I'm just going to put that in your, just consider that. So let's see. Stopping down can also be applied to overall recovery. This is true. Oh, let's put this up here. Aurora, this is a great comment. Your overall recovery, it's patience, mindfulness. You don't have to recover tomorrow. That's a really good point. Kind of everything. You have to be willing to do everything slowly, including recover. So that's a good one. I know that everybody wants to recover now. I get that. I so get that. But you can't recover now. You can't do it. This takes some time. So being patient is important. Very good. Let's see here. Marianne. Yeah, I could maybe do that. I'll put it on my list for sure. PMR is progressive muscle relaxation. And I do have some recorded guided meditations on the Insight Timer app, all free, by the way. If you grab the Insight Timer app and search for my name, you'll hear the meditations that I recorded. I will put it on my list to do a progressive muscle relaxation. If you go to the anxioustruth.com/skills, I have a PMR video linked. It's just a YouTube video that somebody did. Super helpful, like really boring, very dry, but yeah, I could probably do that. No problem. Good suggestion. I appreciate it. Do the same things, regroup in the car. Very good. Okay. So Elizabeth, let me read your thing. Using running as an exercise to help deal with fear. Okay. No. I get anxious after running. I see this, but it can be harmful since it is not. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. I'll put it up on the screen here. It's a big comment, but I'll look over the top. Using running as an exercise to help. So there's a couple things to unpack here. The first one is using running as an exercise to help deal with fear. If you run every day or a few times a week because you're a runner and you like to run and it's a good stress management tool and it's something that you do for your own mental health and your physical health and it makes you feel better, by all means, keep running. Like that's a good thing to do. If you have developed running into a compulsive safety behavior, like if I'm anxious, I must run, that's a problem, right? So you always have to be aware of why you're doing this. Is it just a general wellness thing? It's something you enjoy. You're a runner and you like it. Then yes, run, but run on your regular schedule. Don't use running as specifically, I run to knock my fear level down. So that's the first thing. But running isn't running, right? So I don't think anybody that goes out to run, jog, whatever you want to call it, unless you're a sprinter, it's not speeding up, right? So what I would tell you to do, Elizabeth, in this situation, and again, I can't know because I don't know you personally, I don't know the real life situation, but don't use running as a response. So when you start to feel anxious, if your automatic thing is I got to put my running shoes on and go out and run for a while, that's a red flag. Try to not do that and see what happens. It's not because running is speeding up. I mean, it is technically you're going faster than if you walk, but it's the problem there isn't speeding up. The problem is using running as a safety behavior. So it's not so much a speed issue as it is an escape issue. Hopefully that helps. Try to not use running as a tool to bring your fear level down because that's not what we're ever trying to do here. We're trying to get through the fear level. So let's see here. Hopefully that helps. Thank you for clarifying, by the way. Appreciate it. Having anger issues today. Okay, this is a good one. Let's throw this up. Bo's mom, how's it going, Bo's mom? So I'm having anger issues today and I'm rushing around trying to calm my anger. Also pretty common, rushing around when we are, and I always get, like, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I was a big Seinfeld. I still am. And there's that episode when George says that he's learned that you look really busy if you look annoyed. And that's common. Like anger and speed also tend to go together. So rushing around to calm anger, I can't say because I don't know you and I don't really, I don't know you in person. I've never seen you, but that would seem like a contradiction. Okay. That would seem like a contradiction. So, but I understand why you would do that. It's a reaction to the emotion, but rushing to calm anger, I'm not sure about that, but it's okay to be angry. Like, we're allowed to feel emotions. It's okay as long as you're not destructive about it. Let's see. Let's see. I'm also running on exactly if your heart beating fast, inclusive. Okay. I see we're in a running. All right. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'm also a runner and I know exactly how you feel. Heart beating fast induces panic symptoms. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit more. The running thing. I'll put this up with it. No, I'm not going to put it on the screen. So let me circle back to the running thing again. So running can also be a form of interoceptive exposure, just like any exercise could be, right? Just like any exercise. Oh, Andy Lyons. What up, Andy Lyons? Welcome. So running can be used as an interoceptive exposure tool also because yes, it does raise your heartbeat. It'll make you sweat, change your body temperature, galvanic skin response changes, your respiration rate changes. So you can mimic the sensations of anxiety and panic by doing exercise. That is 100% true. So running can be a tool to be used as an exposure, but it also can be used as, well, it helps bring my fear down, which is exactly what Elizabeth said. I use it. It brings my fear down to address my fear. So unless I'm missing something, running and exercise can be used as interoceptive exposure. It can, but never when you are anxious. So this is nuanced, but it's important to know that like you just can't be in a situation where when I feel anxious, I have to go running. That's where we never want to be. And that's not a speeding up issue. Running is not a speeding up thing. I don't see this as a speeding up or slowing down response at all, unless you're using it when anxious. So that's the difference. Planning to run because it's good practice, like panic practice, is great. Totally go out and practice panicking, if you will. Just don't use it as one of your responses. If I'm anxious, I must do this, whether it's running or anything else. That's conditional okayness, and we're trying to get away from that unconditional okayness. If I feel anxious and I do nothing, it will still end. That's the ultimate lesson of recovery. All right. No, 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 no. Okay, let's throw this up on the screen. Miss Beach, welcome. For those of us that used to be rewarded by being super productive by rushing, this is so important to learn. Type A personality threw me into an anxiety disorder. This is a pretty big deal. So this ties into some of those GAD things that we talk about all the time, like the general anxieties and sort of drivers. Um, I am a type A. I am the fastest guy in the room. I am the person who gets things done. I'm the responsible one. I'm the overachiever. I'm the perfectionist. Those things are all tied to speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, being productive, being proactive, being predictive, taking care of everything, keeping all the balls in the air. I'm the juggler. I'm the person who does that stuff. And we can begin to wear that as a badge of honor, like it's an accomplishment to drive ourselves into the ground. So thank you, Leslie, for that comment. That is a part of the rushing thing in a big way. Some people incorporate rushing because it's part of their self-image, but then they know that that self-image is causing problems, but they still will hang on to it anyway. It's a whole different topic that we talked about a lot, but speeding up and rushing around is in there. It's baked into there too. So really good. Let's see. I can't get all of them. I think I'm almost near the end here. How do I stop morning anxiety, Debbie? The answer is that you don't stop it. We're always trying to learn how to move through it. So again, if you're not familiar with that concept, go back to the very first episodes of my podcast on theanxioustruth.com. Go to the very first podcast episodes and start to learn that. We're never about how do I stop anxiety here. We're learning a new relationship to it, a new reaction to it. We're learning to navigate through it. The stopping is a happy secondary effect of that. So I don't have an answer. How do I stop morning anxiety? And I'm very, very sorry for the loss of your husband. Clearly a grief trigger, an emotional trigger. I get that, but we're still not trying to stop things. We're learning to move through things. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's see here. I've actually started working on allowing, I'm just listening to this one. Mindful, being mindful I don't need to run out the door and go home. That is correct. You do not have to run out the door to go home. Very important. We're always trying to learn that we are unconditionally okay. Even when we are anxious, even when we are afraid, when we're having scary thoughts and scary sensations, if I do nothing, I will still be okay. Unconditional okayness. That's where we're after here. So let's see here. I think we're near the end here. If anybody ever sees me running, panic may be appropriate because I'm being chased by something. So if we ever see GBG on the side of the road running like crazy, clearly the zombie apocalypse is upon us and we should all be running. So thanks for the tip. Super important. Safety pro tip. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a big one. We're going to talk more about this stuff. I'm going to write more about this too. A badge of honor that I'm beginning to slowly unlearn. I did a video, I think, in my Facebook group. It's probably back 2 years ago now. We talked about that labels. Oops, sorry. Larry feeling to the yep, that's a good comment. Anyway, I'm glad I put it up. So that's a thing we'll talk more about. It's become more and more apparent that, especially for the people who deal with generalized anxiety disorder, some of those behaviors, that self-image, I'm the person that gets things done, those labels become important to us because we feel that they validate us or they make us better or they put us on a pedestal or they confirm who we hope we are. But then on the flip side, it's, I don't know why I worry so much. I don't know why I'm always so anxious. I don't know why this, I can't stop ruminating, can't stop thinking, can't turn my brain off, but I still want to be that rushing around type A personality. I handle everything hyper responsible person, perfectionist. So you can't have both. You have to really look at those things. So we will talk more about that going forward for sure. And then there we go, 38 minutes. We're about at the end here. Let's put Marianne's last comment in. We are capable even when we are highly anxious. And that is the lesson of recovery. Not because it's okay and we're trying to live highly anxious forever. That is not the goal here. Some people make that mistake. Like, this guy's teaching me to just deal with, just tolerate, just ignore panic and extreme anxiety forever. No. When we learn that we're capable, even when we feel that anxiety and that extreme anxiety, then as the happy side effect or secondary effect, generally speaking, that hyperactive threat response begins to quiet down. Not turn off. We never want to turn it off because it is part of being human. We turn the volume down. I don't remember who said that it has a volume knob. One of the people I work with all the time. That was a brilliant analogy. Like, we are learning to turn the volume back down to a normal level, not to turn it off, to turn the volume back down. I wish I could remember who said that, but it was really good. Whoever it is, if anybody knows, put it in the comments, but that was great. So that's what we're trying to do here. That is the lesson that is underneath all of these things, all of them. So Maria, and killing it today. Thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate it. So, all right, guys, we are done. If you do not have a copy of this book, you can find it. I suck at this pointing. I'm just not good at it. That's just the way it is. If you want to find a copy of this book and follow along with these lessons, next week we're going to do chapter 5. You can find it on my website, theanxioustruth.com. This book has its own little splash page at 7%slower.com with a cool like trailer video and everything that my friend Craig made from Year of the Phoenix Productions. So I'm grateful for that. Check it out. And yeah, we'll be back next week. We're going to do the next chapter, which is, I don't want to slow down because then I'm going to feel some stuff. And the answer to that is correct. You will. We'll talk about that next week. So thanks for coming by. I'm happy to be back doing this. See you guys next week. And